We're told in 1 Samuel, we're told of the story of when Saul is anointed as the first king over Israel. And among the many things that Samuel the prophet says to him, he makes this very interesting statement, prophetic word to him. And it's about the Holy Spirit's change that would take place. And let me just read it to you. It says, "At that time, the Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you." Now, this is Samuel getting Saul ready for what's going to happen, and he lays out a sequence of events. You're going to go to a place, you're going to meet some prophets, you're going to come out, you're going to join them, and when you do, the Spirit that's on them will come on you. You will prophesy, and here's what he says. "At that time, the Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will prophesy with them, and you will be changed into a different person." I love that phrase. You will be changed into a different person. That is the power of the gospel. And it's the power of the Holy Spirit that carries out the promise of the gospel. And in fact, I was thinking about this whole concept of radically changed lives by the Holy Spirit. And I have the privilege that I grew up in church. I grew up as a missionary boy. I grew up as an adult missionary, as a young adult missionary, then as a pastor, as a leader. So I have been around this thing of the gospel. I've traveled in lots of different places of the world. I have seen the church and the gospel in action in a lot of different places. And here's what I began to remember. I remember Brother Victor, the old gentleman in Mexico that would stand and sing and worship the Lord and would weep every time he sang about the love of God and about the power of Jesus. But I also know that man was notoriously evil and infamous in the mountain regions of northern Sinaloa, where he was from. He was called El León de la Sierra, the Lion of the Mountains. And that wasn't because he did good things. But even as he was an older man, he encountered the gospel, and it radically changed his life. And he was a different person. He was loving and tender, and he was passionate about telling about Jesus to other people. And that's just a synopsis. I'm thinking of, I know someone who was a homeless prostitute before she came to Jesus and found Jesus in the depths of her misery, and God transformed her into a godly woman leader in the church and a leader to people and influencer around her, both in business and in the church. I can tell you the story of a meth addict who came to Jesus in the midst of all of her addiction, and how God radically changed her life, and she now serves and ministers to people trying to break the addiction. I could tell you of young men who were on the wrong direction in life and just wasting their life away, and had an encounter with Jesus, an encounter with the Holy Spirit, and radically Jesus transformed their life. Many of you listening, I know enough about you to know that you qualify as a testimony of the radical transformation that the Holy Spirit brings to lives. It is the power of the gospel. In fact, I wrote it this way: the gospel radically changes lives. In fact, 2 Corinthians 5:17 says it this way: "This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person." Interesting. That's what Samuel said to Saul, even back in the Old Testament. When the Spirit comes into your life, you will be a new person. The old life is gone, and a new life has begun.